What's up guys, welcome back to Danny's World. Today I wanted to make a little guide for distracting. I'm going to be going over some terms I like to use as distracting, some terms that you'll need to know if you want to become a distractor, the best tunes and the worst tunes for distracting, and of course how to distract specific twisteds like all of the mains, the goobs, and the scrap siblings. So if you don't want to hear about the basic things like hearing about stealth, then skip to this timestamp. So the first thing you gotta know about Distractor is obviously stealth. Stealth is the most important thing. You want to tune with low stealth, high movement speed. So basically the way how stealth works is, say you and there was another player beside me who had 3 stars in stealth, the twisteds are going to target whoever is closer. So essentially, if you're going to play Distractor, try and just know what every single toon in your lobby, know all of their stealth so you don't accidentally get them hit or lose all your twisteds, of course. So you're going to need to know 3 terms for distracting. You're going to know GTE, it means get to elevator. If somebody says it, then chances are somebody's doing last or the last 2 machines are being done. There is EAE, which is used during panic mode. It means that everybody's in the elevator and it is safe for the distractor to return without worrying about anybody. And the final term that I like to use, me and my friends like to use personally, is panic, which just means panic mode is about to begin. And for those of you who don't know what panic mode is when all of the machines are completed, the elevator door opens back up and you have 30 seconds to return. The reason why it's so important for you to know about this and keep in mind about it as a distractor is because during panic mode, all twisteds gain a big speed boost, and if you're a slow distractor, somebody with 4 or 3 stars of movement speed, it can get you hit if it catches you off guard. So if somebody says panic mode's about to start, gain some distance from the twisteds, especially if you have not the best Wi-Fi connection. You're gonna want to get some distance, that way you can just continue to run away and not get hit during panic mode. Additionally, you gotta say if nobody's gonna say panic mode or you're just worried you're gonna get hit, try and gain distance when the last 2 machines are being completed or when the last machine is being completed. Try not to use all of your stamina during this point, but do try and get some distance because you will get hit if you're not focused. The other 2 terms that I'll use during distracting, ones that you'll need to know for yourself and that other people won't need to say. This is a made-up term because I learned distracting self-taught. It's just a term I like to use when teaching my friends how to distract. It's what a stamina deficit is. Now what that is when you're running away from a twisted, you're going to lose all your stamina. And when you lose all your stamina, you can't run away. And if they're faster than you, you're cooked. A stamina deficit is essentially if you're running away and you can't regen more stamina than you spend. So you're always going to want to be in a point where you're expending enough stamina that you'll get it back before you have to run again. You can do this by doing circular loops or just straight up being the fastest distractors in the game. It's a little bit hard with 3 stars, but as long as you're a 4-star toon, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much unless it's Twisted Toodles or something. Well, moving on to the next thing. The best tunes to distract. I'm going to put a little tier list on screen here if you want to take a look. I'm not going to give my reasoning for them all being here. You could just look at the stats for yourself, or you could just ask me in the comments. But here are the best tunes to distract. You can pause it, take a look, figure out which one you want to get. I recommend Louie, personally, because Louie is not only the fastest character in the game, but it rewards you when you're about to struggle. Essentially, for Louie, when you get hit, you get that knocked down to 2 hearts, which will give you a speed boost. Then when you're back at 1, then you're the fastest toon in the game by far, making him probably the best toon to distract. Now, the other thing, one more tier list I'm going to put up here, is a tier list of every single twisted. The higher they are on this list, the higher of a problem they are. Now that you've had a second to look at the twisteds you want to avoid, I'm going to be going ahead and putting footage over of distracting specific mains, goob and scraps, and of course multiple mains at once. So, yeah, epic transition. So, the first guy I'm going to be talking about here is, of course, Twisted Goob. First, let me apologize as I forgot to mute my mic during all of this, so ignore the random clicks. But for Goob, essentially what you want to do is find about a medium place to dodge around so that you can go in a circle pretty easily. Like I'll show on the footage here, you'll see that I'm trying to go wide loops around this little cargo crate thing. And what I recommend for him is if you're doing him solo, just try and keep counting in your head when is he about to grab. He does do a little animation when he's about to grab. He'll like look up and raise his arms a little. When that happens, make sure you're out of his line of sight. Even if he does grab, you do have about 0.2 seconds to get behind something. Not a lot of, not a big amount of time, but he always grabs at the same time. You just gotta count. I feel like it's about 6 seconds. Not confident. I mostly just kind of feel it in my gut rather than count it in my head. Very stupid thing to do. Don't do that. But if you're distracting Goob with other Twisteds like I am here, luckily there's no fast ones other than Yatta, I recommend trying to do wide loops, and then when Goob's going to grab you, that's when you try and go close to the object you're looping him around, and try and bait out his grab. And also try and make sure you don't lose him while doing this. It's very easy to lose Goob, especially since when he grabs, you're going to be behind something, which during the animation time, it's already going to be at 2 seconds. He'll have lost you by the time his animation is done. So make sure you just go back and range a Goob so you're not to lose him. Other than that, now that I've told the basic way to distract Goob when you're with other people, is it involves specifically Twisted Toodles and Twisted Astro and I guess Shelly too. Basically any fast Twisted. If there's any fast Twisted, chances are you're going to run out of stamina, especially if it's Astro. If that's the case, feel free to hide or use some items. Or if you have an Astro, that's great too. You can ask your Astro to be on standby. But the main thing is always the same. Try and make wide loops, use your stamina as needed, be careful not to lose all of your stamina, because if you start panicking and you're mistiming the grab, you're going to run too much, and then you're going to be out of stamina. Like I did that quite a few times. You'll see at the start of this footage that I was at 22 stamina. That was more from rounding everybody up. Alright, next I'm going to talk about Astro. Astro himself is probably the easiest and hardest main to distract at the same time. Why? Because he moves, I'd say it feels like a little bit slower than Twisted Toodles, which is what I normally base Twisteds off of when I'm comparing them in movement speed wise. However, he gives you the tired debuff, and what that does is make it so you basically can't regenerate stamina. So if you're facing him, if you have an Astro on the standby, ask him just to keep an eye on you. Try to use your items if you get too low, and of course if your stamina's hitting around 50, try and lose line of sight and just get your stamina back. That's all I've really got to say about Astro. He's not too hard. Next up, I'll talk about Shelly, because Shelly is honestly a little bit easier than Astro. All they really are is Toodles. That's it. They are literally just Toodles with a bigger hitbox. That's all they do that you have to worry about. Of course, they do lower extraction time, so expect to be on that floor just a little bit longer. But as a distractor, just treat it as Twisted Toodles with a bigger hitbox. It's honestly easier than Toodles because they're so easy to see, and the increased line of sight and attention span means you can go around corners a lot easier. So we're moving on to Sprout now. Sprout is one of the harder ones to distract, but that's mostly dependent on map and the other twists on the floor. You see, Sprout summons these little tendrils. At least two of them could be active at a time, and when he summons them, he stands still. Meaning, not only is he slow, so he's easy to miss or lose, but when he summons, he stands still, making him even easier to lose. So what I recommend is finding a wide open area, trying to get him to summon his little tendrils on the wall, and trying not to lose line of sight of him, because you will be losing line of sight, and you'll be losing him a lot. And if you're forced to run all around the little floor you're on, and then he summons a tendril in a bad spot, it could really get you killed. So what I recommend is keeping track of his tendrils, or once two of them are up, counting when it's going to despawn, when the next one is going to spawn, and try and force all the tendrils to spawn in the spot that won't obstruct you too well. Too bad, I mean. Bleh. Anyways. Moving on to what could be the hardest main, but not the hardest at all if you know what to do, Twisted V. I see everybody distracting V wrong. There is a way to do it that will guarantee success as long as you don't as long as you don't lose LOS or it's a terrible map like this one. And that is, when you distract V, he gives you a slow debuff, which puts an ad on your screen, and of course gives you slowness too. I see people running during the slowness phase, which I do not recommend. What I recommend is running either if you have to during the slowness phase, or during that small little phase where you have no slow debuff to actually gain distance. Because if you run during that point where you have no slow debuff, you'll be able to get more than enough distance for it to wear off, and then be able to run again as soon as they round that corner. Start getting close, it'll end, you run, and then you just repeat that until the end of the floor. Of course, this doesn't work if it's like Twisted Toodles or something. You're just gonna have to use all of your stamina. So yeah, honestly, V isn't too hard unless you have trouble closing the ads or there's a fast Twisted on the floor. All I could really recommend, again, I'm going to try and show it the best I can in this footage. Try and run during that period where you don't have the slow debuff, and you should be fine. Just don't panic. Use your items if you have to. Know when to run, and it's not the hardest. Alright, gotta go quick here. I was then able to find a run where I could just get pebbles and only pebbles with, as well as having a backup distractor. But pebbles is the easiest main to distract if you have a backup distractor. That's all you gotta do. Find a wall and just stay beside it. Twisted Pebbles will run into the wall because his animation forces him to, just stalling him out. I'll try and show it the best I can here, but I kind of died really fast. So again, sorry, I couldn't find a good run where to get Pebbles and a backup distractor. So I just kind of blew up here, which you'll see. So, that's my take on fun distracting. I didn't really talk about it too well, I'd say. I didn't really talk about loops good enough, which is why I'm going to put a lot of background footage here if you guys want to watch just some regular, normal distracting. I mean, yeah, there's Sprout, but it's on this floor, so I should be able to just do distracting like I normally do distracting, not have to worry about those tendrils too much. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Distracting in this game, it can get really difficult, especially if you're distracting alone. Ideally, you'll have 2 distractors, at most 3. I feel like 4 is a little too much, but 3 at most is the best amount of distractors to have in your run. If you want to practice, it's literally, most of this is just straight up game sense. You gotta know how close you can get, because it's kind of different with everybody, with how internet connects you to the game. Like, sometimes I'll die and I'll not even be close to the things, like that one YouTube short I sent of me blowing up out of thin air because of my Wi-Fi cutting out. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll leave this footage up in the background in case any of you guys just want some extra footage of distracting. It'll have no commentary. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.